If you're reading this and something happens to me, remember my story. And if you ever get a call offering you a job on a private jet, don't take it. It started with a suitcase that was too heavy to be normal. When I got the call to work as a maid on Diddy's private jet, I couldn't believe my luck. This wasn't just any jet, it was a flying mansion, the epitome of luxury. For someone like me, who lived paycheck to paycheck, this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. The pay was generous, the crew seemed professional, and I'd only be on board for one night. Easy money, I thought. As I stepped onto the jet, the lavish interior took my breath away. Marble floors, leather seats, gold accents. It was more extravagant than I'd ever imagined. But there was something else too. Something I couldn't put my finger on at first. It wasn't until I saw the other staff members' faces that the feeling solidified into unease. They weren't smiling. Not one of them. They moved quickly, their eyes darting toward the corners of the cabin, avoiding each other's gaze. The first red flag came shortly after takeoff. I was asked to retrieve a suitcase from a locked compartment in the back of the plane. One of the flight attendants handed me a key without meeting my eyes. "It's in compartment 6, she muttered. Compartment 6 was in an area of the jet that felt more like a bunker than a luxury plane. The door was reinforced, and the walls were lined with thick steel. It was clear this wasn't for luggage. It was built for something else. I slid the key into the lock, and when the door creaked open, a wave of cold air hit me, like the inside of a freezer. The suitcase sat on a metal table. It was large, black, and scuffed. The kind of suitcase that had seen years of rough handling. When I tried to lift it, I was startled by its weight. Whatever was inside wasn't clothes. I dragged it back to the main cabin, struggling to keep my balance as the plane hit turbulence. The entire time, I felt eyes on me, though when I turned to look, the hallways were empty. When I reached the lounge, Diddy's assistant, a tall man with sharp features and an icy demeanor, took the suitcase without a word. He placed it in a closet and locked the door, pocketing the key. "Don't ask questions," he said, his tone clipped. The second red flag came during dinner service. I was setting the table when I noticed one of the plates was chipped. I brought it back to the kitchen to replace it, but as I reached for another plate, the chef grabbed my wrist. "Don't use that one," he said firmly. His grip was like iron. I frowned. "It's just a plate." He shook his head, his face pale. "Use the one with the mark on the bottom." Always the marked ones. I didn't understand, but I complied, retrieving a plate with a small red symbol etched underneath. It looked like a circle with strange lines running through it, almost like runes. As the night progressed, the tension among the crew became palpable. No one spoke unless absolutely necessary, and when they did, it was in hushed tones. They avoided looking at Diddy directly, and whenever his assistant walked by, they would stiffen, their movements becoming robotic. Then, halfway through the flight, I noticed something strange about the passenger list. I had been cleaning one of the lounges when I saw a clipboard on the coffee table. It was a manifest detailing the names of everyone on board. There were 12 names listed, but I had counted only 9 people, including myself. The realization sent a chill down my spine. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe some of the passengers were staying in their private suites, but deep down, I knew something was off. Things escalated when I was tasked with taking out the trash. The bin was located in a small compartment near the cargo hold. As I opened the hatch to toss in the garbage, I noticed something out of place. Among the bags of trash was a single, blood-stained glove. My stomach turned, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. I reached for it, hesitating before pulling it out. The fabric was damp, the blood fresh. "Find what you're looking for." The voice made me jump. I turned to see the assistant standing behind me, his expression unreadable. I just noticed." "You didn't see anything," he interrupted, stepping closer. His voice was low, threatening, "and if you value your job, you'll keep it that way." I nodded, swallowing hard. My hands shook as I shoved the glove back into the trash and closed the hatch. The final straw came when the jet made an unscheduled stop in the middle of nowhere. The passengers were told it was for refueling, but I overheard snippets of a conversation between the pilot and the assistant. My job was to make sure the cargo needs to be offloaded. It's too dangerous to wait. I watched from a window as two men in black suits loaded the heavy suitcase into an unmarked van. The assistant handed them a thick envelope before they drove off into the darkness. When we finally landed, the crew disembarked quickly, their faces pale and drawn. I wanted to ask questions, but the look in their eyes stopped me. Whatever had happened on that flight, they were terrified of it. I quit the job the next day, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled onto something I wasn't supposed to see. Every time I close my eyes, I see that suitcase, that blood-stained glove, and the terrified faces of the crew. I don't know what I was a part of that night, but one thing is certain. I'll never set foot on a private jet again. I thought quitting the job would be the end of it. That nightmarish flight was supposed to fade into memory, buried under the monotony of everyday life, but it didn't. It followed me. The first sign came 3 days after I resigned. I was at home, flipping through channels, trying to distract myself from the gnawing unease that had taken root in my gut. A sudden knock at the door startled me. When I opened it, no one was there, just an envelope lying on the welcome mat. Inside was a single photograph of the suitcase, resting on that cold metal table in the reinforced compartment. No note, no explanation. My heart raced as I flipped the picture over, hoping for some clue, but the back was blank. The next day, my phone rang. An unknown number. I ignored it, but the caller was persistent, ringing back every hour. When I finally answered, the voice on the other end was distorted, like it was filtered through a voice changer. "You should have kept your mouth shut," it said, before the line went dead. I hadn't told anyone. Not my family, not my friends. How could they know? Unless someone had been watching me. The paranoia crept in like a shadow, consuming my thoughts. I started seeing black SUVs parked near my apartment. My mail arrived torn open, the contents rifled through. Once, I caught a man in a suit standing at the corner of my street, staring up at my window. When I locked eyes with him, he turned and walked away without a word. One night, I woke up to the sound of glass breaking. My heart pounded as I grabbed a kitchen knife and crept toward the living room. The window was shattered, and lying on the floor was another photograph. This one showed the cargo hold of the jet, blood pooling near the trash compartment where I'd seen the glove. Scrawled across the image in bold red letters was a single word: stop. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a bag and drove to my sister's house 2 states over, hoping to put some distance between myself and whatever was happening. But the fear followed me there. On the 3rd night at my sister's, I woke to the sound of my car alarm blaring. Rushing outside, I found my car's tires slashed and the windshield spray painted with the words, "You're next." I knew I had to confront this. Running wasn't an option anymore. I called one of the flight attendants I'd worked with, the only one who'd shown even a flicker of kindness during that flight. It took hours of pleading, but she finally agreed to meet me at a diner on the outskirts of her town. She arrived late, wearing sunglasses and a scarf, despite the warm weather. Her hands trembled as she slid into the booth. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "They don't let people walk away from this." "What's in the suitcase?" I asked, leaning closer. "Why are they coming after me?" She hesitated, biting her lip, before finally whispering, "It's not just a suitcase, it's leverage, evidence, things that could ruin people, powerful people." Her eyes darted around the room, and she leaned in so close I could smell the mint on her breath. "Do you believe in rituals? In deals that shouldn't exist?" I froze, my mind racing. "That's what it's for," she continued. "They transport things for those deals. Offerings, payments, insurance. You weren't supposed to see any of it." Before I could ask more, she stiffened, her eyes fixed on the window. 2 men in black suits were standing by the diner's entrance, their faces impassive, their eyes locked on us. "You need to leave," she hissed. sliding out of the booth. "Run, and don't look back. If they catch you, it's over." She left in a hurry, disappearing out the back door. I sat frozen, unsure of what to do. When I finally worked up the courage to leave, the men were gone. But I knew this wasn't over. Now I'm on the run, writing this from a motel room under a fake name. Every creak, every knock, every shadow feels like it's them, coming to finish what I accidentally stumbled into. And the worst part? I still don't know what I saw, what I was part of. All I know is that it's big, too big for someone like me to survive uncovering.